Hi, and welcome to Copenhagen. Check it out. I'm finishing now my latest architecture sketch commission, and in today's workshop I will teach you the basics of architecture sketching in Procreate. So this workshop would be really great if you are an architecture or interior design student, if you would love to become a sketch artist, if you're a beginner in sketching in general. So prepare your iPad, Apple Pencil, or simply grab your sketchbook and let's begin. Welcome to beautiful Copenhagen and our today's tutorial on architecture sketching in Procreate. So first I would love to show you a couple of my recent architecture sketch commissions. I will really briefly talk about the timing. So for example, this one, it's the new building, apartment building for a client in the United States. So he commissioned me to do this sketch. It took me approximately an hour and a half to accomplish this guy. And as you can see, even though it's seemingly a very quick and easy sketch, I do use a lot of layers. And yeah, first I just want to show you a couple of examples, and then we begin with the tutorial itself, the follow along style tutorial. This sketch is basically the same client, but a taller building. And as you can see how much I do use layers, and I will talk in the tutorial itself, and I'll do a follow along video why it's so important to use layers for your architecture sketching. All right. And as another example, I just simply want to quickly show you my interior sketch commissions as well, because architecture and interior architecture, they're so closely connected, right? And you can see that there are lots of similarities. I also do use lots of layers, and also the same principle of perspective drawing I applied here. So just a few examples so you can imagine what we will be talking about. Okay, and now let's begin. So please grab your Apple Pencil, your iPad with Procreate installed. Even if you don't have an app, you can take a piece of paper, a pencil, and just follow along, because even though this tutorial is focused more on digital sketching, right, but still you can get a lot from it in terms of perspective knowledge. So feel free to just simply take a piece of paper. All right, for those of you guys who have Apple Pencil, just click on this plus button, new canvas. So I'll assume that you are a complete beginner in Procreate and you want to test waters, right? To try and test to see if this app suits you. And maybe you'll get inspired after this video and you'll fall in love with Procreate and you'll be wishing to draw commissions in this app. Let's pick A4. This is my favorite format for interior as well as architecture sketching. And what I love to do from the very beginning is to just simply rotate it horizontally. All right, so if we click on this icon, like two squares, is basically one of the most important features in Procreate, because these are layers. If you used to work in Photoshop, you're already familiar what it is. But if you don't and you're brand new, just think about layers like a tracing paper. So you can put a layer of tracing paper upon layer and you can draw different parts of the building in each layer. So think about about it as a lasagna, right, or a pie. So you have a layer of for example, wheat, right, like dough, and a layer of mince, right, a layer of, for example, onion, golden onion, and then again on top a layer of dough, and you put it in the oven, and by the end you have a beautiful meal. The same here. When you want to do an architecture sketch commission in Procreate, it is so time-saving to use these layers, because you can easily and very quickly add any adjustments, do changes, because very often, almost 100% of the times, when you send the sketch to a client, they want something to be changed a bit, so it's almost inevitable. All right, so layer 1 is set up already. So what I love to do is I love to take red colored pencil. So now we'll be doing like draft drawing, right? So don't feel free. I want you to feel free here. I want you to have a mindset of excitement, like what to expect, and please don't be afraid, because very often I see in complete beginners that they are literally they are afraid to start drawing. So for this draft, you can take for example, a 6B pencil or a Procreate pencil. It's very good to test everything first. So let's go to sketching and let's grab this Procreate pencil or Derwent pencil. So I think I'll go for Derwent. Here on the left, you can play with the size of it. So if you can notice, now it's really a thick line. If you go down, it's so thin that you can hardly even see it. With this button, you go quickly back. So let's adjust it somewhere in the middle, and that should be fine. This one is opacity, and we'll talk about it later. So for now, let's quickly sketch a really nice and easy architecture, like a little building. So first, I would love you to my Apple Pencil, it's second generation, and sometimes when I click on this button, on this part of the pencil, it automatically switches to an eraser, right? So you can see if you tap it, you can switch to an eraser, but for the purposes of this video, I'll simply pick like the brush, for example. So the size is back, maybe even bigger so you can see it properly. Okay. So first, let's locate our building. It will be placed, so if this is the center line, right, so our building will be located closer to the left. And now we are talking more about like basic composition. So our horizon line will be somewhere here. And we'll have nice two boxes, one on top of the other. Horizon line is basically the line where your eyes as a viewer are located. So if there will be a person watching on all this architecture situation, it would look like that. So this horizon line, it goes right through his eyes. And today we're talking about two-point perspective. So two-point perspective is a type of perspective when you can see two vanishing points, when there are two vanishing points present in your sketch. So let's really quickly do these two boxes. And here you can adjust, you can see if you like the angle. So probably here I would love to erase these parts and make a view a bit more dynamic. So this is a draft layer for our draft sketch. So don't be afraid here to do whatever you want. So let's imagine that we have our vanishing points, one here and one here. Very often they are located outside of the picture frame. So this is basically our picture frame. But today, for the purposes of this tutorial, I really want you to literally see them. So these vanishing points are located on the horizon line, HL and VP. Let's call them VP, VP1 and VP2. So, and here we have a nice box. And these lines that I'm drawing now, they are located below the horizon line. So below our eyes, right? That's why the direction is going upwards, while when the line is above the horizon line, the direction is going downwards. And let's show the borders of this box, and let's put another box on top of it. Let's put another box on top of it. Yeah, and I will very roughly outline these two boxes so I can see a nice silhouette. Whoa, I really love this stage because at this point you can very easily adjust everything. So in terms of composition, you can make this drawing bigger and it can take more space, right? But as I told you, I really want you to see today this vanishing point. So maybe I allocate it simply something like that. So for this, all these movements and any changes, you just click on this arrow button and it's this uniform option. And when you are done with your uniform, so for example, maybe you did your composition, so you put the building too close to the left border, too close to the right border, or too close to the very center, and you feel like you want to move it a bit. You can very easily do it with this tool, this little arrow icon. All right, so layers. Let's go to layers. Let's click on this plus button. It gives us a new one, a new layer. You can very easily rename these layers. So let's call this draft and draft. Yes, draft sketch. And when you can see blue, it means that this layer is active. So if I continue drawing, everything will be on that layer. So you can see if I hide the layer, everything will be hidden, right? With this little button, you can go back as much as you want to, so you can remove any changes you made. So let's go to a new layer, but first we'll play with opacity. Opacity is basically this N sign, and you can play here with it. I usually go to somewhere about 50% opacity. So I can see the building, but the lines, I think today I'll go to 30% because my lines are very, very thick here. So I can see what's happening on this draft layer, but I can freely draw on top. So let's activate layer 2. Then we go to color again. And now I want to simply pick regular black color. And I will use a different pen. So as you can see, there is such a plenty of options you can choose from. But today, let's play with just a couple of brushes. So we used, we played with this pencil. So let's go to 6B. That's also one of my favorite pencils. Yep. And before we start drawing, I want to introduce you to drawing guide. So it lives here in this actions button. And this is so helpful for architects, interior designers who want to achieve like nice and sleek and really nice looking sketches and architectural illustrations. So we go to Canvas. Canvas is basically this space that we are working on, and here we are focusing today on this drawing guide. So let's activate it. You can see it gives us a grid, and if we want to edit it, and that's exactly what we want to do, we just click on edit. So now we will play with perspective. Let's activate perspective. And as you can see, I've already mentioned that we are working today with 2-point perspective. That's why we want to add 2 points. So let's put 1 point to the right and another point to the left on the same horizontal line. So it will be right here. So we don't want to do it like that, otherwise our view will be disturbed, right? So it should be horizontal. This line should be horizontal and parallel to the edges of our canvas. Okay, and as you can see, our perspective here is done because we already knew approximately where these points are. If the points are outside of the canvas, you simply drag these points and you look how well they align with your drawing. So now you can see that my edge here is pretty sharp. So that definitely means that the points are so much closer to the center line, because the further away the points are from the drawing, the smoother these lines will be. So here you can see that these lines, they create this nice angle. So let's click done. And as you can see, now our pencil is drawing really freely, but we want to use all the advantages of this drawing guide. So what we do, we activate it. So we click on drawing assist. We can do it in different styles. So as you can see, now all my lines that I'm drawing, they are very like, they look like I am using a ruler. So now let's trace this building that we already have. You see all the lines here are either vertical or they run to one or the other vanishing point. Again, I really love how smoothly it looks. So let's imagine that this building, this box, it's a little bit misaligned with this edge. So if you look, if it would be transparent, if it would look like that, right? So it would be looking like this. But I want this part to be clear. So I will undo these steps. And I simply, in my imagination, I will finish these lines. So very nice and simple 2 boxes. Now I would love to create another layer. Let's go to layers, click on this plus icon. And as you can see, this layer 2, there is a new adding here. You can see that it's assisted. That means that we used this drawing guide. So this is what I meant. We can either click on this button to activate the drawing assist, or we can, for example, do it in layers. So if you click on layer and you activate drawing assist, this layer will be also assisted. So I can't draw, right, like freely. And with 2 fingers, it's the same command as if you would use these arrows. So let's go to this layer and let's click off the drawing assist, because this layer is for like the greenery. And now I want to make the size of my pencil, my brush, a little thinner. And I'll quickly draw the greenery. So this is how I love to work with trees. I simply focusing on their outline, and that works perfectly well for architecture sketch. Also, we can add some dynamic to the sketch by adding a nice road here, for example, by adding some plants around. So in your architecture sketches, of course, you want to focus more on architecture, right? So everything else, it's like in the theater, it's second role. Also, it's a good idea. You see that we have, let me remove this little one with an eraser. And I'm going back to my layer that I'm working on. Let's rename it so you can clearly see. Let's call it surroundings. Surrounding. You can see that we have plenty of space here, and we can work with the space, for example, by adding some nice greenery. Let's say that there is a tree branches. So something that will enliven the sketch. We can add some birds flying maybe here. And it's even a good time to turn off the draft layer. So you go to layers and you click on this tick box. All right, so this is how it looks right now. The final step I feel like I would love to add is to add a couple of human beings here, a couple of people here, and people on this road. So you see, even though this person is closer to us, but his head is located on the same horizon line. Maybe he's with the dog, or another person very, very far behind. As you can see, he's so much smaller than this group, but his head is located on the same horizon line because approximately all people are around the same height in architecture sketching, like meter and 60 centimeters, meter and 70. So you, of course, can play a little bit if there is like a couple and the man is taller. Of course, you can do it here as well. Okay. So the final step I would love to suggest today is to play with some shadowing, and it will be really, really quickly. So for that, I will turn on another layer and let's call it shadow. So we're not introducing any like real color today, but we simply want to get familiar with specifics of architecture sketching. We can go to and use another brush. One of my favorite brushes for architecture sketching is Copic marker, but you have to download it, and it's freely downloadable from internet. You can simply put in Google Copic marker and it will give you a couple of options. So let's check if I'm working in the right layer shadow. And here it's really good for brushes like Copic to work with opacity, because as you can see, if I move it can be either more transparent or more intense. Plus, these kind of brushes, they're very sensitive to the pressure. So if I'm really pressing hard, you can see that it looks like almost an ink. And if I very, very gently touching, it's also so transparent. Let's go back. And today we'll finish our sketch by simply adding shadows. So let's imagine that our light source is on the left, our daylight, our sun. That will give us shadows on the right side, right? So you can play with the pressure by pressing more on the near the edge of the building. And don't be afraid to hedge like that in a very, very free position. The only thing I want to do is I want to make the size a little bit bigger. So let's play with the pressure. So for example, if you press really hard closer to the edge, and let's try to ease it at the end. And then we can easily erase all the unnecessary lines. and it will give us a very nice shadow. That's what I really love using in my sketches. And in layers, we can play with opacity, so we can make it a little bit lighter, right? So for this box, we can also make another layer and use the same Copic brush. Let's do it like that. Let's erase unnecessary parts. And we can make it a bit less transparent than this shadow, because this box is a bit closer to us. Okay, and the final thing is just let's add some cast shadows from this building. So it will look approximately like that. And some cast shadows we can add from people. Very, very simply. And also it's a good idea to erase some parts, like here on the edge. And also let's do it a bit more transparent. Yes, like that. And I feel like I want to merge these two layers. So you see, I do this movement with my fingers. And now this layer is one, and you can play with its opacity. All right, so that's it, my dear creatives, for today. I hope you enjoyed. Oh, yes, and the very, very last thing I want to do is, of course, to add some nice framing. So we can take, again, this pencil, because I feel like these frames, they work really, really well for architecture sketches. Yeah, and it's a good idea to put even your name here. So sketch by Olga Sorokina. All right, I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. And yes, I will see you in my next one. Bye for now. I hope you enjoyed this masterclass. If you want to dive deeper, I have a live stream on my Instagram, my 5 tips on how to become a sketch artist and draw architecture and interior sketch commissions in Procreate. I'll put the link in the description. Also, I'll be super happy to check your drawings from today's masterclass. So tag me on Instagram, School of Sketching, and also post your drawing in a Facebook group of this sketching retreat. So all the links will be in the description. So thank you one more time for watching, and yeah, can't wait to see your sketches online. Bye.